was good. Yeah, it was. Okay, make your motion.
Motion to reconvene?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, folks, let's get started. I don't want to break it.
No public forums.
Okay, so before we get started, we're absent two council members tonight. One is ill and one is away on business. So we are going to, if anybody's here for these following items, we're going to continue these. And I thought it'd just be appropriate and fair to announce that at the beginning instead of having to sit there all night. So items number 19, 20, 22, and 23 are going to be continued until the next meeting. 19 and 20, the council president had put those on himself. He's not here this evening, so it's not fair that we talk about it without him. I think that's fair. So items number 22 and 23 are ordinances. The public hearing is still open. However, some of those items, there's some revisions to those, and I think without a full council, that's not appropriate to make have that discussion and make any decisions on those, because they are, it is the second hearing on both of those. And the last one is any appointments tonight, this evening. We're going to make those appointments next meeting. Those will be continued as well. Okay?
So that's 28.
Okay. So having said that, the next item is item number 4, public forum.
And there are no forums, Mr. President.
I have to read it in, Mr. Santos. Pursuant to Rule 25 of the Rules of the Council, citizens may address the town on one subject only. Said subject of substantive town business, neither discussed during the regular meeting nor related to personnel or job performance. Citizens may speak for no longer than 5 minutes and must submit a public participation form to the council clerk prior to the start of the meeting. All items discussed during this session will not be voted upon. Do we have any items?
No, we do not.
Okay. So let's move on to the fun stuff. Item number, presentations. And item number 5 is communication of Councilor Lombardi in reference to Sunset League Hall of Fame inductees.
Motion to receive said communication and begin said presentations.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to ask Councilor Lombardi to join me down front, please. Yep, okay. Do we have the mic?
It's inside the podium.
Right?
Lift the lid right up.
Oh, it's inside.
Okay, thank you. This is the good stuff, especially when you can have a little fun with some of these guys. Council body put on the docket to recognize some Middletown residents that recently inducted into the Sunset League Hall of Fame. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick, and we're going to make some presentations.
Thank you, Paul. First of all, I'd like to call them up. Chuck Pava, Chris Patsos, and Andy Andrade. So when I saw that these 3 individuals were inducted into the Sunset League Hall of Fame, and each one of them has got such quite a great history with baseball and the Sunset League, but more importantly, for all of you in this room, all 3 of these individuals should be recognized for the many accomplishments and contributions that they've given to Middletown over the years. They are Middletowners. I mean, Chuck was a Middletown High School baseball coach. He's coached Little League. He coached my own kids all the way from this big, right up until today when they see him, they call him coach. He's the general manager and president of the Newport Gulls, and Chris is also is one of the owners. And what the Gulls have given back to Middletown and Newport and Portsmouth, I think if I have this figure right, in donations, in scholarships, in camps that they've given to kids who couldn't go to camps, probably over $1 million in the end of the day in donations, right, Chuck, in that neighborhood. I mean, you can't buy that stuff. So they've given back to our community. And last but not least, Andy Andrade, former president of the council, a coach, Little League, Babe Ruth, still coaching today, Sunset League, right? Yeah, and Salve Regina. But these guys are Middletowners, so we should recognize them for that as well as this accomplishment, maybe more so for what they've done for our community. So on behalf of the council, I want to present each of you. They all read the same. So to Chuck Paver, Chris Patsos, and Andy Andrade, in recognition of your induction into the Sunset League Hall of Fame, the town councilors extend their very best wishes on this memorable occasion here on this 4th day of February 2019. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I got to say something else. Before I give this to Chris, I want to tell you one other thing that this guy does. He is so involved with the challenges, with the organization that they work with kids in our community who are really significantly challenged in many, many, many ways. He and his wife Denise have done so much for these young kids that otherwise might not have those opportunities. To see them up at Fenway Park at one point throwing out the first pitch and things like that, those kids are just, it warms my heart to see you do that, Chris, and you and Denise with her with the volleyball, right? And just amazing coach of the year. And that is so good, and I didn't want to forget that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah, no, you're not all set. I'm going to have a little fun with you. So we also have the town tiles for you guys. That's the good news. The good news. I knew you were going to take the mic, Andy. Hang on. And I just want to say this, please.
I've always wanted a town tile.
He did his bathroom in when he was the council president. So, just kidding. So, the good news is that we recognize you and thank you for your accomplishments. We do need the citations back because we're missing 2 signatures from the 2 councils that aren't here tonight. So, Wendy, we'll leave them with Wendy and we'll get those to you. And congratulations. And I don't know if you guys want to say a word or two. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, thank you for this wonderful honor. We're very fortunate to be inducted into this Hall of Fame in the Sunset League. Andy and I go back to the Middletown team here in the Sunset League. That's how I got started. But anyway, very much appreciative, and we're blessed to be able to live in Middletown.
Thank you. First of all, thank Rick and Paul and the entire council for the honor because, first of all, it was a labor of love. We all love playing in the Sunset League. We loved playing at Cardigans Field. And the one thing, we all love baseball, we love kids, still coaching today, but the one thing that I always go back to is the fact that to me, baseball and most sports are all about relationships. All the friendships that we've made over the years. When we had a dinner recently and brought back a lot of the old, I don't want to say old, but ball players that we played with. And it's just great that the memories that we have and the friendships that we have, and that just we'll never forget. So I appreciate this very much.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate the honor. My wife, myself, my family really enjoy living in Middletown. It's a great community, and you guys have been great to us, and we have no problem giving back, and love to give back. Love to see the kids do well. I also do a lot in Newport as well, and Middletown. A great family base here. Great infrastructure, a lot of balance. Really great community to live in. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
I don't know him.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll see you Saturday. Saturday.
Sean, yep.
Thank you for the parking for my son's.
No problem.
See you, buddy.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, number 6. Thank you, guys. Number 6, continued from the January 22nd, 2019 regular meeting. Memorandum of John Shea, Executive Director, Aquidneck Island Planning Commission, AIPC, with enclosures in reference to Aquidneck Island Planning Commission's AIPC FY19 Quarter 1 report to the Middletown Town Council.
Motion to receive said memorandum and begin presentation. Were you taking a shot at me?
Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Shea.
Well, good evening. Thanks for inviting me tonight. Again, my name is John Shea. I'm the Executive Director of the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission. I started there in April of last year. I'm still learning my way around, getting to know people, but certainly I've been loving it and impressed so much with all the communities on the island, and just a dream living here. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I wanted to congratulate everybody on the council for their election or re-election. And I've met most of you, but for the benefit of those I haven't met, the Aquidneck Island Commission, Planning Commission is the regional planning entity for Aquidneck Island. We represent Middletown, Newport, and Portsmouth. We also engage with Naval Station Newport on issues of common interest on the island, and that can be a pretty broad set of areas that we work in. The town councils each appoint 4 members to our board, so you're certainly well represented and your interests are protected in that way. And we also have a liaison from each council, in our case Rick Lombardi, who's done a great job. And I want to thank Rick for all his support and guidance and friendship since I've been down here. I really appreciate it. I also realize, though, that perhaps there have been times in the past that the commission has not been as communicative as it could have with all our councils. And so to that end, we established when I got here a regular reporting schedule to all of our councils to let you know what we're doing and update you on our finances. We also have established a planners forum, which meets at least quarterly, and it brings our planners together, and our town managers are invited to discuss issues of mutual interest and how we might work together. And all this is for the reason that we want to make sure that what we focus on are the things that, as a community, the Aquidneck Island municipalities are focused on. Beyond that, we also have great relationships with a myriad of groups on the island, such as Connect Greater Newport and Discover Newport, and the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and Clean Ocean Access, and others. So we are leveraging our work and making sure we don't duplicate efforts that are already underway. And one piece of news, we recently acquired a new communications manager part-time, Claire Nelson. She's been doing a great job, and she's really going to help us kind of get the word out of the work we're doing, and also liaise not just with the councils, but also with all the stakeholders and citizens on the island. So we're very excited to have her aboard. And moving, I guess, over to the programmatic side, I want to introduce Allison McNally. I think you all know Allison, who is our manager of the Island Waters Project, and that project has brought in considerable resources to our municipalities to address issues related to clean water and stormwater runoff. So certainly a very valuable contribution through that program to our island communities. We have a couple of events I want to let you know of that are coming up. I think I've let you all know about our Smart Island event on housing, and that will be March 15th, and that will address all the issues that we're dealing with on the island related to workforce housing and aging in place and Airbnbs and things that so many of you are very focused on. So I hope you can join us. And we're also planning to do a legislative forum in April, where we bring our elected officials on a state level to engage with citizens, and they tell us about their priorities for the legislative sessions and the budget term this year. And of course, citizens get to engage with them and tell them what their interests and priorities are. We are looking at doing some work in coordination with the municipalities on green municipal aggregation, potentially, and also electric vehicle infrastructure on the island, and citing electric vehicle infrastructure, so those things are important. And our planners who are meeting on Friday, the principal issue they'll be talking about is revisiting the West Side Master Plan, which is really a seminal document on the island, and you know, it's something that all the communities here have based their individual municipal planning on. And, you know, that came out in 2005, so it's about 15 years old now, and a lot of things have happened since then. So we're really interested in working with the towns. AIPC led that process back in the early 2000s, working to update that plan, address issues, say, like broadband that weren't fully addressed, and look at things that have already been done or are no longer pertinent. So we're very excited about that. And, you know, I guess I could go on with a bunch of other issues, but maybe I'll stop there for the sake of time. And I also have a real phobia about public speaking, so I would prefer not to stay on too long. So
Listen, you're doing a great job.
all right, well, thank you, I appreciate that. But I do want to thank the council for all their support. We look forward to continuing to work with all of you, doing great things on the island. I want to thank folks like Sean and Ron on the municipal staff, and Tom as well, for all the great work they're doing and for all the cooperation they've given us. And I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have, or if I can't answer them, I can certainly find the answer, or I can see if Allison can help you. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Councilman Body.
Thank you, John. You did a great job, by the way. I know how you feel about public speaking.
Thank you, Rick.
So,
Appreciate it.
With that said, you know, when I first was appointed liaison my first term, one of the messages that I was asked to bring to the AIPC was that you need to change direction a little bit. It wasn't happening, and they kind of lost direction for whatever reason. And I think under your direction and your leadership, and I see things changing, and for the better. Revisiting the West Side Master Plan is an important thing for us to do, and for you guys to do. And I think with the island waters and the workforce housing and the aging in place and the broadband, you have a lot on your plate, and I know that, but you've got a great team, and I think we're moving in the right direction now. I can say that. I will tell you, and I almost did this, and Ashley Medeiros, who was here earlier from Connected Newport, right? That's Connected.
Yep.
She grabbed me in between during the break. She said, if you're looking for a consultant to help with the planning board, you know, and she is. She's on board. She's free, and she does a great job. And she's working on all this stuff now, and that's her forte. And I don't want to throw anything else on your plate, but what we were talking about earlier, about these zoning issues and development and that type of thing, is something that the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission should be involved in. And maybe at some point you talk to Ron and see how, you know, maybe your resources and whatnot can help us out with the Atlantic Beach District area and that whole process with the planning board, and your job is planning to help with that also. But I will tell you, Council President, Vice Chair, that Ashley is a great resource, and we should use. She goes to the MEDAC meetings now.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, Rick, you may know, she's joining us on Friday with our planners to discuss the revisitation of the West Side Master Plan, and she also sits on our board as a non-voting member. So we're very closely linked with Ashley and Fourth Economy.
I've had some discussions with her. She's a great
She's
resource.
wonderful, great
You ought to
resource.
take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any questions of John? Thank you for the update, John.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you did a nice job.
Alice,
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Okay.
Motion to approve the consent calendar with the exceptions of 8 and 9:15.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second to approve consent calendar minus items number 8 and number 15. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 8, approval of minutes in reference to regular meeting, January 22nd, 2019.
Mr. President, or Mr. Vice President?
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you recusing?
No.
Oh, that was you.
My turn, that
All
was
right,
me.
well, I need a second.
Oh,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to approve minutes.
Okay. Discussion. Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Madam Clerk, just some clarifications on item number 29. Yes, 29. Let me see. The very last sentence, I think that was stated to be addressed with the state's legislators as opposed to the towns.
That's fine, I can change that, if you'd like me
Okay.
to.
Well, I think that's what was said. I'm not sure if the rest of the council recalls that. So, moving on to number 31, rather.
That wasn't,
The third from the bottom point, where it says, Antone Viveros, 110 Indian Hill Road, notes that Exeter did not pass a similar ordinance and Jamestown has passed a similar ordinance. I believe that neither of them have gone forward with an ordinance.
Okay, I will double check that.
I appreciate that. And Madam Clerk, if you could please make part of the public record either on this memo, these minutes, or on tonight's minutes. I'm referencing number 35. It's at the bottom where Mr. Souza was speaking, and I'd like the record to reflect that he said, quote, "I'm very pro-development," unquote. I'd like that part of the public record, please.
Can you do that?
that
It
wasn't
would have to
called.
be approved, changes to the minutes would have to be approved by the
Right,
entire council.
but that wasn't called.
She's quoting somebody.
What's that?
She's quoting somebody. Can we do that?
I don't normally quote anyone unless they request it,
And that wasn't called.
and Mr. Souza did not request that.
Okay.
Can it be made a part of record that, in the record at my request, that those were his exact words?
Well, I think
or
it is
not?
part of the record, Terry, with, we have a tape of it.
Is that official?
Tape is official, yes.
Yeah.
We
Tape
have
is
to keep
official?
it.
Yeah,
Very good.
okay. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second?
Are the other two corrections?
Yep, she's going to correct those.
Okay, good.
With those corrections?
Okay.
Was
We have
it-
a motion and a second?
Get
Well-
this-
One of them, I was correcting from the town's legislators to state's legislators, okay?
The other one,
We put it in that way because of the way that it's worded.
But it has to go through our legislators, which are the town legislators, to
Right.
get to the
So that's
state.
how we refer to them
Right.
because they're the town's legislators, so.
and then the question I had on the correction of
Number
what
31.
Mr. Vivero said,
Right.
is that what he said, or are you saying what he said was not correct, or that what was taken down as to what he said is not
I
correct?
think what was taken down was incorrect. He had stated that neither of those
We
towns.
can go back and listen.
That's fine.
And
Okay,
if
That's
that's the
fine.
case, we'll change it.
Very good.
We'll leave the other one as the town's legislator.
Okay.
okay. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 15. Communication of Frank T. Landorf, President, Hopkinton Town Council, with enclosures of reference to state financial support to education.
Motion to receive said communication.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Okay.
I had brought this up because I was not sure what the action item for the council would be, or if it was in consent that there wasn't going to be an action item, and it seemed as if for school funding that it's something that should be looked at, so this might be more of an explanation as to what next steps might be.
Okay. What are the next steps?
That was,
But-
that,
I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
this is the opinion of the town of Hopkinton,
Right.
okay? That is their opinion. And that they have written a letter that supports their opinion. So in fact, what we would have to do if we did anything is we'd have to make it our opinion and act on it.
Well, they're asking if we would participate in such an effort to promote the future of Rhode Island schools, funding for schools from the state.
Mr. Lombardi?
Wouldn't that have to be a motion on the next agenda?
Yes, Council Lombardi.
so I know what they're doing, and I get it. There's an issue all over the place. I mean, Hopkinton is part of the Charahoe Regional School District. And they were one of the biggest losers, more than us, with the school funding formula. Three regional school districts is Middletown, part of the biggest losers. And I get where they're going, and I understand it, that funding for education in the state needs to be addressed. It gets more and more difficult every year. So if there's some way that we can support them, I would certainly be behind it. I mean, look at the fight we have every year when it comes to funding our schools. And they start out, you know, literally in the hole because of what they're losing in the school funding formula.
Council Body, would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
I would.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we support the resolution from Hopkinton, town of Hopkinton.
Second?
It's not a resolution.
What is it?
It's a letter to the
It's a
council.
letter.
Support the letter.
But it's not a letter of support. It's asking for the council to respond to them about the topic of school funding.
That's all.
There's really, I guess, the question, I don't really know how you respond to this. I guess I go back to Mrs. Flynn. I don't know what the council wants to do.
Their question was, please advise us to your ideas on what we should expect and demand from the state in additional financial support for local schools and whether you would participate in such an effort to promote the future of Rhode Island.
Do we wish to respond, does any councilor wish to make that in the form of a motion to respond to the town of Hopkinton?
We would have to please advise, because that's what they asked for first, was please advise. So they're looking for ideas first.
And whether you would participate.
Well, I want to hear the ideas first.
Yeah, we're not gonna support anything unless we hear the ideas what they are.
Right.
So are you interested in forwarding some ideas?
Is that the next step?
That would be the next step, yeah.
And what would be the procedure for that?
Put
Do we
it-
bring ideas to the council, discuss?
Yep, put it,
and
make it a
then-
docket item, put it on, and then we can either send them ideas and tell them we support it, and here's our ideas, if it's approved.
So would that go on the next agenda and everyone would bring ideas, some more experienced than I?
You're the one that pulled it off.
Fine, I'm in.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
Next
And
up.
again, I encourage everybody to, if you have an idea, I mean, like Rick said, besides those three regions, Middletown was right behind them as far as the loss of state aid for our schools, so, good point.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes.
Is Counselor
Withdraw my
Flynn,
motion.
is she going to be putting something on the next docket? Because we don't automatically put something on. Usually one of the counselors puts it on.
I shall write a
She'll put it
docket
on,
request.
yeah.
All right, that's the next, my
Yeah.
action item.
Yep. Okay. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's move on. Licenses and permits. Application of Rhode Island Social Skills Academy for a bingo license to be held at the Knights of Columbus Hall, 7 Valley Road on Saturday, March 30th, 2019, beginning at 6 p.m. The applicant requests license fee to be waived.
Motion to grant said license and waive license fee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Number 17, application of MAJ LLC, does business as Rocco's and Maya's Little Italy, 59 Aquinic Avenue, for an amusement license for the 2018-2019 licensing year. This is new indoor entertainment acoustic.
Motion to grant said license.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I'm just concerned about noise.
Well, Mr. Rocco is here, I think, to address our questions and concerns.
Level of volume.
Yep, okay. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Rocco Juanette, I'm the owner of Rocco's and May, Little Italy.
What's your address, sir?
59 Quidnick Ave.
Okay?
Do you live there, sir? You live there?
No, that's-
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's the business.
That's the
The
business.
Counselor
I
Santos.
realize
And
it's
the
a
business,
business.
It's KJ's, or Rocco's now.
I didn't see, what's the objections about the entertainment license?
Okay. So at one of the meetings, I was pretty vocal about it, Rocco, because you bought her in a residential neighborhood, and specifically Mrs. Noon's right behind where you're at.
She's a great lady.
She's an awesome lady. I'm
I
glad
love
to
her.
see you get along with her, hopefully. So,
We build a relationship.
Concern is the noise.
We built a relationship, me and Rose, and we've been talking, and she expressed what happened in the past with the old tenant of that building, and I agreed with her on everything she said. They were out noise, they would stay late and make noise. That's not what I want. What I want is there's schools that I used to entertain in Portsmouth and the Old Rocco and Rocco's in Newport and the Steakhouse. A teacher will bring the 13, 14 years old kids and younger, and they will play, and the family sit down and observe their kids. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to have an entertainment. I don't want to, we did it without an entertainment license, but I'd rather do everything correct. And the other thing, I'm trying to get a piano in there, and having a piano and somebody, I do a lot of rehearsal for the weddings, and a lot of people like to sing a little bit, but there's no microphone and nothing. They just play a little piano, nothing noisy. Then I look around that whole area, the issue, there is not much of entertainment for anybody, even the locals. I mean, the only places you got is, what do you call this thing, karaoke and whatnot. If I'm not looking for a band to come and play and make noise, I can't stand noise. I shy away. I'd rather not have anything if that's going to be the way it is. But I wanted to protect myself in case somebody walks in and they say, Rocco, this is my father's birthday, my cousin want to play the accordion, and so on. Sometimes I'm on the spot. But when I had Rocco, I never had to get any entertainment license for nothing. Is a plug to the wall with electric with amplifier. It's like the guy Italian will come and sing Italian music, just goes serenade tune the tables. A lot of kids will come once a week on a Tuesday and they will show the talent. And I'm not looking to make any other noises. And I promised her, Miss Rosa, that I'll make sure by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, nothing, no noise, no nothing. I even close my restaurant at 10 o'clock every night because I don't want nobody coming in and stumbling and being drunk. On the weekends also 10 o'clock I've been closing because it's a quiet. It's no sense to have the leftover or somebody comes in drunk. I don't want that. I want to cater to people like you and elegant. I don't want one. Are you sure about that? He's a superstar. But that's all it is, the entertainment. It's nothing major. And whatever Rosie wants, it will be done. If she come to me and said, Rocco, this is kind of loud, it will be done. I've been talking to her, and she's so nice. She even offered to cut the grass for me in the back from her own people because she has incident with Jack in the past or whatever. But she's been helping me out, and I've been helping her out. In any way I can, I'll stand by her.
That's good. That's good to hear. So I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So you're talking about you bring in kids from schools.
It's once a week the kids like to show up,
play.
entertainment, for the parents.
Right.
And there's no other place will do that for them but Rocco's.
Okay, so it's like Middletown's Got Talent.
Middletown, let's do it.
Okay, all
do
right.
it.
So, but it's just a one or two person. It's
And exactly, and I was
and it's
talking,
inside.
Right, and I was talking to some of the teachers from the schools, and they wanted to do some fundraisers sometimes and stuff, and I said I'd be more than happy to supply the food. But to have some kind of fundraiser where you got to sell them a ticket, we'll do it early, and it will be over by 9. And should be somebody like play music or something from the school to entertain the people who come in for the fundraisers and stuff.
Okay. Councilor Flynn.
Thank you. So I'm wondering, this might be a question for the solicitor. Can we put parameters on the approval?
Yes.
For instance, not more than 2 people performing and the doors and windows closed type of thing to make sure? Because the reason there's not a lot of entertainment down there, Rocco, is because you're right next to a residential neighborhood.
Right, exactly. I'm with you on that. But I looked at this year. You go downtown Newport, it's busy and packed. You come to Middletown, it's dead, and it looks like the end of the road. There was no Christmas light lighting up that side of the island. There's nothing that city have done to attract people to that. Local people, business to survive. So I was like, maybe by next year, we can make a fundraiser from all the business people, chip in to light up the place. But beside that entertainment license, I'm not making a concert where I'm gonna charge you at the door $10. It's something quiet. And I wouldn't allow any noise. Because of Rose, I love her to death. I will not allow her to
We all
get
do.
angry or upset.
And this is good for a year, these licenses, so maybe we try it with a couple of parameters and see how it goes.
It's fine.
I would support
But
that.
the little kids, when they come in, they'll be like 2, 3, but they're not making that much noise. They're just showing their parents. If I gotta do 2 at a time, I'll be there all night. But I like, they get up like, that's how some of the kids with Peter, the teacher, that's how they made their own bands. A lot of them, they start when they're 12 years old, and now they're 18, 19, and they come to me and they say, Rocco, thank you. We have our own band, and I just...
So when you say band, are you talking 4 or 5 young
No,
people?
no. Most of them, maybe one play the guitar, one play the drum, one probably, but it's not loud.
Well, I think that's where, you know, we want to.
We're gonna do that early.
Proceed carefully.
That starts from 6 to 8 o'clock. But between that, they sit down and eat with their family. So it's only like an hour, and early of the day. It's
So
not
you would
gonna
have
be
them
late.
performing 6 to 8 p.m.? Somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m.?
Well, the kids come out of school sometimes, and by
Or
the
in the
time,
afternoon,
and the
not later
parents,
than
and the
8
parents
p.m.?
get out at 5 from work, and they drive the kids over. So that would be like 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, it's fine. Then after that, shut it, that's fine, as long as they can show their talent to their parents. I mean, I can tell them no. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mrs. Santos.
I think if you limit the number of children, sometimes a family may have 3 children who are musicians. They
Exactly.
want to come together. And if we limit them to 2, they got 3, maybe they got 4. They're children. They come as a family. So why limit a family presentation of music to the restaurant? I can't see that, and I won't vote for that.
It's not for the restaurant. It's they looking for a place where they can practice.
Right,
And they can show their parents their talent.
right.
As
I agree with you.
right an open eye. If it's got to be 2 people, that will be fine because they take turns,
Right.
you know. But if that's no, then we just go for the karaoke or something else.
But you can have as many as 4 or 3. in
Whatever
from
you
one
guys,
family.
whatever you guys decide, I'll have to obey.
So, Peter, I have a question, I guess. So, one of the councils asked me off the mic, so we can put the restrictions.
You can put reasonable restrictions, you know, for example, typical restriction might be the hours. It's, you know, not after the hour of 8 o'clock or something
When I
of that
talked to
sort.
Rose-
And it's, I think the application is for acoustic only, so
Right.
that would be one of the conditions that you would put on it, that it would only be acoustic. And then,
And I have a local gentleman who wants to do karaoke. He's an older gentleman. He limps. And I tell him no to wait till I get my intermediate. He wants to do one Thursday. I said, fine. I mean,
well, what was what
that's
was
not what
applied
was
for is only
advertised there.
acoustic, so.
yeah, that's acoustic, okay.
So just because you get this, doesn't mean you can do karaoke.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're clear.
No, I did. When I talked to Rosie, she said, after 10 o'clock, as long as there's no noise rock, I have no problem. I was going to make her write the letter, but I was embarrassed to do that to her. It's not like, as a professional it is, her word was to me, and we communicate all the time. I always go check on her to make sure if she needs anything.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes, Councilor Lombardi.
All right, so, Rocco, I know probably before you were here, there was a lengthy discussion about what we want to see as a community. People who live in that area, what they want to see the Atlantic Beach District look like. And this is a prime example of us making sure that the right thing is down there.
Yeah. I'm not opening the dance floor or anything.
I get your message.
Yes.
Make a motion. Just so you know, that it's on everybody's mind, but where that end of town is going. and what we would like to see it become. And I know that entertainment and, you know, restaurants and retail is all part of that. So, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve with the following restrictions, that it's acoustic only, doors and windows will be closed,
Of course.
and it should cease at 10 p.m.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Second
Okay.
that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So you're proposing,
Councilor
Council
Flynn,
Oh, I'm
go right ahead.
sorry. So you're proposing, Council Lombardi, that the music can go right up until 10?
Everything was done at 10. With doors and windows closed, acoustic only.
Instrumental.
Acoustic only.
So I'm going to go ahead and support it, but if there are complaints for the next renewal, if there be one, it will be pulled back. Does that sound fair? If it
That's-
doesn't
that's
work till
very
10,
fair.
I think it's late for music, especially on school nights.
But knowing the people who have an eye on that building, I mean, when I opened that building, I have a guy by the name Fitzpatrick put bad things on the internet, which is not true. Otherwise, I would have been in court and being sued. He had bid on the building for 700, and he almost got it. And I went to the million, whatever they want, and I got it. But I never know that guy want to buy it. So he put bad things on the internet, and I called the state police. They were going to arrest him and ban him from Facebook, but I said no, because that person was living on top of my building on
Okay.
Broadway, and
All
I
right.
used to
All right, I don't need-
help
we
him
don't
out.
need
But
to know
I
all
just
those
want to
details,
correct
sir.
that, because that's what's going on around the area.
That has nothing
So,
to do with our
because she
decision.
said if somebody going to complain, so it's got to be part of his team.
Rocco, this is about quality of life and about the neighborhood.
No,
About everybody else.
I'm not opening a hangout, no.
If residents complain.
Yeah,
that
no, the
live
residents,
there.
they're not even going to hear it. It's
Okay.
minor.
Okay.
Okay. Could you step aside, sir? We have someone else that would like to speak.
May I
Mr.
ask
Silva.
May I ask a question?
I didn't know you were done. You can ask him when he comes back up.
But she can interrupt.
Mrs. Santos, please. Go ahead, Mr. Silva. Everyone's going to get a turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to identify my presence here, I represent Rosemary Nunes, and I've spoken to her about this application, and I'm not aware that Mr. Rocco has spoken to her, but I don't doubt that he has. Mrs. Nunes' concern is she doesn't want it to get back to where it was under Mr. Gullickson's regime. Doors open, loud music, disturbing her, and she lives right across from the building, and there's only a hedge, if you will, protecting her from the activities that take place there. So as long as the entertainment is within the confines of the building, not outside, doors and windows closed, and as long as it's not amplified music like a band. Okay? If it's acoustic, and if that means you can play a guitar and you can do this and do that, but it doesn't have the amplifiers, because I know families with 3 kids in the garage, and that's where bands start, and it's pretty noisy. So she just wants to be reasonable, and she's a good neighbor, and as long as it's limited to its scope and not amplified music, and she'll not say anything more.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Rocco, Rocco, can you come back up, please? Mrs. Santos has a question for you.
All right, Mr. Rocco, on your youngsters, they will play until 8 o'clock, am I correct?
After 8, it only got 1 hour to play.
Okay, and then who will continue to play until 10
No,
p.m.?
nobody else, no.
So there'll be no music
No,
after 8 o'clock?
that's not what I want. I want a food, restaurant, family atmospheres, romance, not crazy music, no.
So the music would stop at 8 o'clock? Is that what you're
Most
saying?
for those kids, yes,
All right. and
because they have to go home.
Right, and how about after 8 o'clock? Who
None.
would-
Just-
Nothing?
Just a restaurant, keep going, and we have our own little radio that will play Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and stuff like that.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Council Lombardi.
So, just want to amend my motion. Is that, can I?
Okay.
Yep.
where I said acoustic and no amplification.
Got it?
Just so you're clear, Rocco, I'm adding no amplification to my motion. No amplification of the music.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Just a clarification, I am sorry, I just want to make sure. So
Councilor
it's still,
Flynn.
the time for the motion is 10 PM still,
Correct.
but they don't anticipate anything past 8?
the kids only went on.
Okay.
If you're going to speak, you need to come up to the microphone, sir. Okay.
I think that's an ordinance anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Good luck to you.
Thank you very
And
much.
please follow the rules.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Other communication, number 18, communication of St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee in reference to request for support by placing an ad in the parade bulletin or donating to the parade committee.
Motion to receive said communication and approve a half-page ad to the cost of $140 in the St. Patrick's Day Parade booklet to be appropriated from the council president's discretionary fund.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to continue items number 19 and 20 to the meeting of February 19th, the regular meeting of the council.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second to continue items 19 and 20 to the next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ordinances, number 21. Ordinance of the Town of Middletown, second reading. An ordinance and amendment to the Town Code, Title III, Administration, Chapter 36, Fee Schedule, number 10, Cemetery. See attached ordinance.
Motion to adopt said ordinance on its second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Motion to continue 22 and 23 to the February 19th regular meeting of the council.
Second.
Motion is second to continue items number 22 and 23 to the February 19, 2019 meeting of the regular council. We have a second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And now Town Administrator. Number 24, Memorandum of Finance Director through the Town Administrator with enclosures in reference to change order, Middletown 018-005, Upper Easton's Pond sanitary sewer lining.
Motion to receive said memorandum.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Sean?
Mr. President, this evening, the administration is requesting that the town council approve a change order in the amount of $84,325 with National Water Main Cleaning to provide services for slip lining in the small neighborhood that's located in the southwest corner of the Easton's Point area. Mr. Hall's here to talk a little bit about why it's necessary. It wasn't part of our original project area, but as we reviewed an inspection of the tapes as well as inflow and infiltration in the area, it became apparent that it made sense for the town to complete this area in order to complete the project entirely. So with that, I'll just let Mr. Hall provide some technical observations about it.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Vice President, members of the council, this is, like Sean said, this is proposed change order number 1 to our contract with the National Water Main Cleaning Company. The location of this project, as Sean explained, is adjacent to the Esplanade. It runs right along the beachfront and then eventually reports back into Purgatory Road. The pipe itself drains the majority of Lower Easton's Point from Tuckerman Avenue, Kane Avenue, Walcott Avenue, Hoover. That entire area drains through this pipe. The pipe itself is approximately 50 years old. We've looked at, now it's 80,000 linear feet of tapes and lateral information from that project area. And again, as Sean says, we're recommending that we slip line the main and the laterals and recondition the manholes in this neighborhood. This neighborhood is private properties. There's an easement that runs over our sewer line, it's 20 feet wide. We'll work with each individual lot owner and bring them on board before we want to disturb their property. All of the properties will be restored to their existing condition. Again, you're right.
So Warren, just so I'm clear and everyone else is clear, this wasn't part of the original scope of the original project? This is an extension just to finish up that area?
Yes.
It's not, and when we say change order, it's not like they were doing something, they found something wrong that's gonna cost the town more money. We've just expanded the scope because it makes sense while they're there, and probably cheaper while they're there on site, to finish up this small area.
Absolutely, correct, yes.
Mr.
Okay.
President?
And yes, ma'am.
No, go ahead, finish.
And I
sir.
and it's Sean, just from a budget and funding standpoint, it's coming out of the bond funding for the sewer bond?
Yes, there's a revenue bond that's paying for this project.
Okay. Mrs. Sanos?
Mr. Hall, if I read this correctly, the original contract was $3,299,000 plus. We're adding $84,325, bringing it up to a total of $3,384,000 plus. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. All right, thank you.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes,
Just-
Mr. Council Flynn.
Just a quick question, Mr. Hall, why was it not part of the original scope if the pipes were already 50 years old? You knew that. I'm just curious how it got overlooked.
This area is, it's not part of the Upper Easton's Point, it's below Purgatory, so we define those two sort of sewer shed areas. It's adjacent to the Esplanade project that we did a couple of years ago when we went through and we did the sewer lines throughout that Lower Easton's Point. And it's just one of those little areas that was either overlooked, I don't want to say overlooked, but we were going to come back and get it eventually. Now seems to be the best time to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, number 25 rather. Resolution of the council in reference to change order, Middletown 018-005, Up Easton's Point Sanitary Sewer Line.
Motion to pass said resolution.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Number 26, memorandum of town planner through the town administrator with enclosures in reference to FFY 2018 to 2027 State Transportation Improvement Program, which is the STIP for short, major amendment number 11.
Motion to receive said memorandum.
Second.
Motion to receive, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. President, I'm going to have the planner come up and just walk through his memorandum that describes the changes that we were notified of and regarding the State Transportation Improvement Program. As Ron runs through it, there's relatively minor changes, and maybe with the last change, there'll be some discussion regarding the sidewalk installation on Aquidneck Avenue, but I'll let Ron walk through the items that have sort of moved a little bit.
Okay. So I guess to start off with, the purpose, as we understand it from Rhode Island DOT, for the changes that they're making is for funding availability. They're asking to redirect funds and reschedule projects to dedicate the resources to the bridge program that they've been undertaking, repair of bridges in the state. And I understand there's also been a delay in the funding they were expecting to get from the tolling that they've implemented, and that's part of the reason for having to reallocate funding. So that's my understanding of the proposed amendment to the STIP. How it affects Middletown is the purpose of the memo that I submitted, to Sean and then to you, to identify how Middletown projects that are in the transportation improvement program are affected by the proposed amendment. So, and some of these are not going to be as important as others. For example, I'll just go through each one. The 2 Mile Corner project, the funding was reduced. That project's essentially complete, as I think you all know. Funding was reduced by just over $1 million. The time frame was extended to 2019 because that's when the project was completed or will be completed. And so under reasoning, where I noted the reasons, that's from DOT. Those aren't the reasons that I created. So DOT's reasons in their amendment request for that particular project is altering funding to reflect project needs. So you'll see that several places. Next item, Pell Bridge ramp relocation phase 1. What they've done with some additional funding that was secured, you may have read about recently, federal funding was secured towards that project. They were able to move up improvements and expand improvements on Connell Highway and Coddington Highway. So what you'll see under that item is an increase of funding of $10.7 million. The time frame is extended to 2021, and what I did was the time frames that I'm including here are the completion time frames. So because there's always a range in the project, a start time and an end time. So all I'm doing is identifying the completion time frames that have been modified. So 2021 expansion by $10.7 million, reason altering funding to reflect project needs. So they'll be reconstructing Connell Highway, Coddington Highway, adding a multi-use path along the highway, improved bicycle facilities, bike lanes, and that sort of thing. Aquidneck Avenue, this project has been increased by $1.37 million. Time frame has been extended to 2021 for completion. That project, as I think you are aware, this is the Upper Aquidneck East Main Road to Greenland Avenue. It was originally a paving project, and then we were successful in getting that transformed into a reconstruction project, which will include full reconstruction of the roadway, sidewalk installation, and improvements to the drainage. So again, they've increased the funding to that and extended it out a couple of years to complete the project. Green Lane project has been extended to 2021 from 2020, and a slight increase in the funding for that project. The next project, top of the second page, this is Lower Aquidneck Avenue, Valley Road to Purgatory. This is identified in the current TIP as a paving project. That's the way it exists in the TIP as we sit here today. The goal of the town, and I made the note in my fourth bullet there, is to transform that project into a reconstruction project to include the streetscape improvements that we've been talking about. So even though it's in the current TIP as a paving project, once we have our design plans from VHB, which should be coming shortly, we anticipate requesting a modification to the TIP to have that project be a reconstruction project. West Main Road paving, John Kesson Lane to Mill Lane in Portsmouth, that's been delayed, or will be delayed according to the amendment request from 2023 to 2024, slight increase in funding. East Main Road paving, Portsmouth Town Line to Aquidneck Avenue, no change in the date, increase in funding by $2.73 million. Valley Road paving, again, no change to the completion date, increase in funding by $1 million. East Main Road shared use path. This is a project, and you may have read about this in the paper last week, is a off-road, it was to be an off-road multi-use bicycle pedestrian trail, and that project has, it's being proposed to be eliminated from the STIP. It was in there as a $3 million design and construction project for 2022, and that's proposed to be eliminated. And then finally, Purgatory Road sidewalk installation. This project would move from 2022 to 2023 for completion of construction. Funding doesn't change. One note that I made in my memo to Sean is that as it exists in the TIP as a project for construction only, and therefore the town would be responsible for the design work. So we would need to get a cost proposal, and we've actually already reached out to our, one of our consulting engineers to get a cost proposal to do the design work for that sidewalk, but it's still in the tip, but was moved out a year to 2023. So that's a summary. I know that the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission is tracking the changes on an island-wide basis. I just got an email from Allison as I was sitting here. I'm not sure how that happened, but she provided an email from George Johnson on their staff, who's gone through the entire amendment request for the entire island. And so I haven't looked through it yet, but he's got a full accounting for the projects that are being affected by the amendment on the island.
So, sorry, go ahead, Mrs. Sims.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead, ma'am. Get your hand up first.
All right. Aquidneck Avenue sidewalks.
Oh, I knew she was going to do that.
What side?
The-
I've been told a different story now. They're not going to be on the east side, they're going to be on the west side?
That's the concept we saw when we met with them a couple of weeks ago.
So you're changing it from one side to the other side. May I ask why?
Cheaper.
It's not my project. I didn't design it. So it's a project that's in the works. We'll be working with DOT before they move into the 10% design phase. They've received comments from us already, and we'll be providing some additional input as the design process proceeds. I know one thing that was an issue with the sidewalk being on, or the idea of having the sidewalk on the east side, was that that's where a lot of the drainage ditches are, and that was going to be an issue. And also utility poles, I believe, were an issue on that side of the road.
All right. My other question is the Aquidneck Avenue, 138A Valley Road to Purgatory. That's the Valley Road from the light to Purgatory, correct?
That's the, yeah, Aquidneck Avenue from Valley to
All right.
the Newport
that
line.
was paved in 1970. And what's wrong with that road? What's wrong with that part of Valley Road that has to be repaved?
I don't
No,
know
this
about,
is the lower Aquidneck area. This is what we met about earlier tonight,
Valley Road to Purgatory.
to Purgatory. So Valley and Aquidneck going south
Atlantic
towards
Beach
Newport.
District.
Okay, you're going from the light to Purgatory, from the light at Green and Avenue? No.
No. So we're in front of Paradise Cleaners, we take a left.
Okay.
That's what that area is,
Okay,
not a right.
now let's go back to Aquidneck Avenue. Why, you're saying that sidewalks are gonna go on the west side? I've just printed 100 sheets to hand out to businesses at my expense so that they would know that the sidewalks were gonna go on the east side, and you turn around and change it.
So
I
it's
didn't change
the
anything.
DOT. So this is a DOT project. We had 5 to 10% drawings just provided to us, which for the first time indicated the sidewalks would be on the opposite side of the road. And we recently just had a meeting in the last 2 weeks to understand why they've made those changes. But the drawings themselves are at a very, let's say, a very preliminary stage. They don't have drawings for the stormwater system yet. This is still at a very early stage, and one where there's a couple of pages of questions that have been proposed, and we've commented to them that, these are representations that have been made in the past, and we want to understand why they have to change, so.
May I ask another question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ron, how long are they going to stay on the west side, that the sidewalks are going to stay on the west side before they change their mind and put them on the east side? Huh? You don't have to answer
I
that
can't-
because you're
I
not
can't
DOT.
You can't answer that.
I know.
That's funny.
I'll just wait for it.
Hey, listen, I'm glad you're on it.
So hold your papers, because then they'll be right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. B.
So, yes, Councilor Flynn.
Just a question also for Mr. Wolanski. I noticed that all the completion dates have been extended. My question is, are the start dates the same, or have they been extended? Because I remember when we were doing the TIF, they were saying they were actually coming before you anticipated into the area to do the work.
Yep. Some of the start dates have moved one way or the other. I was just focusing on the end dates because that's what most people are concerned about, is when is the project going to be done. I can give you more information.
Yeah, I'd just be curious if
Sure.
they're going to be there longer. And if it's been expanded, I would expect that. It's just, you know, I'd like to know what's going on, when it's all going to start. People would ask.
All right, I can get you that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess, Ron, my couple of questions are, the 2 Mile Corner, I know it's pretty much complete, but the reduction of funding, is that just that they come under budget, do you know? Or they just put that in there? Because it doesn't make sense, you know, when you look at it.
Maybe Sean heard something about it.
Did they
I don't
cut
know the
something
reason.
out of it that we're not aware of?
No, it's, at some point, a lot more money was put into that project, and then they were able to accelerate the timeline to finish it, and, you know, they were able to finish it with excess money. I think we're looking at a planning document, you know, that's part of what's going on here. I'd also add, you know, they had a person at DOT who put together the original plan for all of these projects. He's left, and they finally replaced that individual, so I think it's taken some time for them to get someone up to speed on how all of this sort of balanced out from the original plan. And then, as Ron said, there's been a lot of changes implemented because of the bridge realignment project, so.
Okay. My second question is kind of along Mr. Sanos' lines of Quinnick Avenue. When I saw that, the good news is the funding got increased, so by 1.37 million, but, you know, it's got pushed back a little bit. It's just, my concern is, having done this for a while, that, you know, and what we went through with what happened down at Valley Road and the Quidnick, I mean, that was part of the tips for I don't know how many years, until the town intervened and said, let's build this, you know, town-state relationship, business relationship, where we'll pay for the engineering if you accelerate the timeline of that project, because that project went on, that was on tips forever, if you recall. So we have that relationship with them. Having stated that foundation, I'm thinking about those sidewalks on, the good news is the Quinnick Avenue will get done. Hopefully. I'm thinking about the sidewalks on Purgatory, with tying that into with what we're trying to do down there with the Atlantic Beach District. So is it, and I'm looking at the cost of that. That cost seems awful low to me. I mean, I don't know, 640,000 from Purgatory to Second Beach, that seems low. I don't know.
So, and that was sort of the one of the reasons I wanted to put this on the docket. So, as Ron said, we will work with VHB to get a price to do the engineering, and with that, we'll develop a new cost proposal. And the goal is to pursue this project, just as you suggested, where we'll submit the design for this project as well as Lower Quidnick as one package.
Right.
When they reconsider the funding for Quidnick Ave 138 Valley to Purgatory, we would roll this into that as a package deal, and then we not only improve the business district, but connect it to the beaches as a single project.
Right, and so from a safety perspective, I think in a strategic perspective, it's certainly smart to try and roll those two in together, because it's right there, and they're right there at the same time. So I'm curious to see the cost, because I don't know if we could do this or not. It's just thoughts running through my mind as Ron was speaking. If the cost truly comes back at $640,000 to run sidewalks from Purgatory to Second Beach, and we pay for the design, maybe we can make a deal with them if we could find the funding to pay for that up front and get it done, and they get reimbursed by them. I don't know. It's just a thought that crossed my mind while they're there, because, you know, a lot of people use that road, especially in the seasonal perspective, where, you know, it only makes sense, as you said, Mr. Brown, to roll it in, and, oh, wait, by the way, here's the carrot. If you reimburse us by this date, we'll pay for it up front if we can do that. You're the finance guy.
And that's what we did with West Main Road.
Right,
So,
right.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
We're dodging a bullet on Purgatory Road.
I am well aware of that.
Yeah, so, okay, any further discussion? Ron, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. That's good stuff. Okay, boards and committees. Number 27, communication of James M. Williams, Planning Board member, in reference to resignation from the Planning Board.
Motion to receive said resignation with regret.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion?
Yes, please.
Mrs. Sanos.
Planning board is losing one of the very few members of the planning board that the parents were actually Middletowners. They lived across from Aquidneck School in the Brown House, corner of Reservoir and what's the other street that runs parallel?
Renfrew.
Renfield. He's a Middletowner. And one of the things that he said in his letter, in his resignation, and I'm going to read it again. Is Middletown for sale to the highest bidder, and will we pay the price down the road? This is coming from a young man, a lot younger than I am, that's for doggone sure. No comment from you, sir.
It crossed my mind.
Who's lived in Middletown, whose parents were born in Middletown. So he has seen a change in Middletown, just like I have. And I'm sorry to see him go, really and truthfully.
I agree. So we have a motion and a second to receive the resignation with regret. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to continue number 28 through 37 to the council meeting of February 19th, 2019, regular council meeting.
Okay, motion is second to continue items number 28 through 37 to February 19th, regular meeting of the council. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to open session and, I'm sorry, I'm new at this, remember that.
It's okay. You're doing a great job.
What am I supposed to do?
The first one.
Motion to recess open session and reconvene in executive session. I got it out.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Sorry for my mistakes.
You did great.
And mine.